Well, hello, class. Well, we're going to be starting out with page 124, our Order of Operations, Lesson 6 for Chapter 5. So if everybody can get their book out and go ahead and turn to that page, we'll begin by reviewing what Order of Operations is. Now, I know that you remember this from last year, and we also went over it a little bit in the beginning of this chapter. But as you know, order of operations is the order in which we solve problems following what we call PEMDAS. Now, most of you remember PEMDAS is, or stands for, Please Excuse My Dear Aunt Sally, but it also stands for something even more important, and that's the actual order of the operations that we do in a problem. So as I've started writing here, you see that we solve the problem starting with parentheses, then exponents, and let me see, I think I'm going to have to calibrate here again because I'm having a little bit of trouble with the board like we often do. So let me get that taken care of. So we had the parentheses and the exponents, and then we have multiply or divide. Now this is really important, and I went over this with you before. It's multiply or divide, whichever comes first in the problem from left to right. So it's a very important part of the order of operations for you to remember. So if division comes before multiplication, then that's what you would do first. And we'll show you a couple problems like that. And then next on the list of PEMDAS is to add or subtract. Same thing, whichever comes first from left to right. So if in the problem, subtraction comes first, left to right, then we would subtract first in the problem, and I'll show you exactly how to do that. Okay, so let's see if we can review a little bit here. Fix my E. So we have parentheses, exponents, multiply or divide, whichever comes first from left to right, very important part, add or subtract, and that is also left to right. Let's try a problem. The problem on page 124, it says to simplify. It says 8 plus 4 times 24 divided by 32. Now it says to simplify an expression when there are more than two terms in the expression, you must use a set of rules called the order of operation. And we just went over those rules. So now we're going to put them into practice. And a lot of times I like you to put that PEMDAS at the top, which again, you know is Please Excuse My Dear Aunt Sally. So we see if there's any parentheses, and there are. So it's very important, though, before you start solving the parentheses part of the problem, is that you bring everything down in front of the parentheses. And that's a problem some kids, have, and the mistake that they commonly make. So you're going to bring down that 8 and the plus sign, and then you're going to solve what's in the parentheses. Now 24 times 4 you should be able to do in your head. You can use, distributive property to do it in your head. You have the 4 times 20 plus 4. 4 times 20 is 80, plus your 4 times 4 is 16, which was another flip lesson we had, which is 96. So there's that answer there, and we bring everything else down in the problem. And then we have a whole new problem, okay? So we're going through PEMDAS. We don't have exponents or multiplication. So now we're going to, go ahead and do the division part. And 96 divided by 32, and you should know how to do that. We've done a couple of those. And that would be 3. So if you have to do it on the side, that's fine. And then you have your 8 plus 3. And I like to put the answers right underneath the part, that I'm solving. And if you notice, at the end of your problem, you should have what looks like an upside down triangle. And that's how we try to make sure that we're keeping everything nice and neat, in that triangle there. So everything's compact, right? Now here's a bigger problem, and this is on page 125. So it's 12 divided by 4 to the second power times 4 times 5 minus 8 minus 4 plus 5 to the second power. That was a big problem. And again, we put PEMDAS at the top so that it reminds us of this order of operations that we're using to solve the problem. Now you can solve, if you really feel like you can handle it, all the parentheses at once from left to right. But you have to be really careful because sometimes there's problems that come up with that, and I'll go over them with you tomorrow. So go ahead and we'll solve the 12 divided by 4 is 3. And if you notice, we're bringing down that exponent, the 2, with what's solved in the parentheses, the 3. And then we do our 4 times 5, which is 20. And then our 8 minus 4, which is 4, and we bring everything else down. Very important to bring everything in front of the problem down and everything after whatever you solve in the problem down so that you have a whole new problem. Very important, and it's good practice. Now we have exponents. And if you remember, 3 to the second power is not going to be 3 plus 3. Remember, we never multiplied the 3 times the 2, or the exponent by the base. 3 to the second power will equal the base, right, times itself, whatever the exponent is. So that 2 tells us to multiply the 3 itself 2 times, which would be 9. So 9 times 20 minus 4, and then we have our 5 times 5, which is 25. Whole new problem, bringing everything down. Then we move up and we see that, okay, we have multiplication, and that comes first, left to right. So we do our 9 times 20, which is 180, minus 4 plus 25, bringing everything down. If you notice here, what's coming first in the problem? Well, it's subtraction first. So we have to be really careful. Remember that rule, addition or subtraction, whichever comes first from left to right. So we would do the 180 minus 4, which is the 176. And if we have to do 176 plus 24 on the side, or 25, that's fine. And then we get 201. That's a big problem. And again, we see that if we, let's see, can I get that there? Oh, sort of, turns into an upside down triangle to make it nice and compact and nice and neat. We'll try one more problem. And that problem is 33 divided by 11 times 3 to the second power minus 4 plus 3. So some of these are a little harder, more challenging than you'll have for your practice in the book here today. But I just want to sort of give you an idea of how important it is to follow the order there. So we don't have any parentheses, but we do have exponents. And again, remember, I'm bringing everything down in front of what I'm solving. So I'm bringing that 33 divided by 11 and the multiplication sign down before I do 3 to the second power, which is 9, and then bringing everything down after it. If you notice here, though, what's coming first in the problem next? It's not multiplication, it's division. From left to right. So I'm going to divide first, the 33 divided by 11, which is 3, and again, bring everything down after it so that I have a whole new problem again. It's very important. Then I go back and I do my multiplication, and I bring everything down, and you'll notice again, what do I have first? Well, it's addition or subtraction, whichever comes first, left to right, and subtraction is first in this problem, so that's what I'm going to do. So I'm always following PEMDAS from left to right. 23 plus 3 will equal 26. And again, that's my upside down triangle, which I will draw for you here, and keeps everything nice and neat. So it helps me to solve the problem from left to right using that PEMDAS. Now I'd like you to try some problems. And if you will, I want you to do, and you can do problems 1 through 4, but if you'd like to try some in your copybook, I'd like you to make sure that you do problems 5 through 13 on page 125 in your copybooks. Okay? Great job, and tomorrow we'll work on our homework and maybe do some more challenging problems. Bye-bye.